From ancient times, when flickering fires cast shadows on dark cave walls, to the era when feudal dynasties wove intricate and rigid laws, marriage was never simply a matter of personal affection. It was an institution of survival, a strategic contract between clans, and, most deeply, humanity's way of taming primal instincts to build social order. As we turn back the pages of time, stripping away the romantic silk garments of modern literature, the history of marriage reveals a breathtaking landscape where anthropology, archaeology, and history unite to decode the secrets hidden beneath bridal veils or coarse hemp garments. Let us step back to prehistoric times, tens of thousands of years before writing was invented. In the world of hunter-gatherers, marriage as a formal wedding ceremony did not exist at all. Evolutionary anthropology research shows that primitive communities maintained group marriage structures or mating networks, where bloodline boundaries were extremely fluid. Survival was the ultimate goal, and the tribe's persistence required gene pools to be shared widely to prevent inbreeding depression. However, when society shifted from hunting-gathering to settled agriculture around 10,000 years ago, everything began to turn upside down. Land became fixed property, and livestock and harvests required heirs. This was the historical turning point, the birth of patriarchy and the forms of monogamy or strategic polygamy driven by economic calculation. Marriage was no longer a natural instinct, but a crude legal tool designed to control property ownership and inherited bloodlines. Women entered these new alliances not because of a call of the heart, but because the division of social labor determined their place within the clan's power structure. Entering ancient civilizations such as Mesopotamia or ancient Egypt, the complexity of marriage is vividly recorded on baked clay tablets and papyrus scrolls. In ancient Mesopotamia, where the Code of Hammurabi was carved in stone, marriage was shaped by rigid legal contracts akin to commercial agreements. A legal marriage required a written contract between the groom and the bride's father. Without this document, a woman was not recognized as a legitimate wife, but held the status of a concubine or sexual slave. The contract terms clearly stipulated inheritance rights, dowry assets brought by the bride's family to the groom's home, and stringent divorce clauses. If the wife failed to bear children, the husband had the right to take a concubine or return her to her parents after fully refunding the bride price. Meanwhile, in ancient Egypt, where women enjoyed astonishingly independent property ownership, marriage took on a different hue. Egyptians called the marriage contract a property security agreement, in which the husband pledged to fully provide for his wife throughout her life and allocate a specific portion of his wealth to her if the marriage dissolved. Nevertheless, incestuous marriages among Egyptian royalty and nobility, meant to preserve sacred bloodlines, harbored severe genetic risks that modern science has illuminated through mummy DNA analyses, proving that supreme power was sometimes bought at the expense of the reproductive health and longevity of succeeding generations. Shifting to the ancient East, particularly in the civilization of China anchored by the Confucian system, marriage was elevated into a monumental religious and political ritual of national scale. The classic of poetry recorded the ancient sighs of love, but entering the reality of feudal ritualism, marriage was entirely governed by 6 classical ceremonies known as the 6 rituals: Naptai, proposal; Vunzain, bidding for name; Napkat, inquiring about fortune; Naptik, offering betrothal gifts; Tinki, selecting the wedding date; and Tunyang, welcoming the bride. Each step in this ceremonial chain was a rigorous assessment of family background, morality, and geomantic compatibility. The ancients believed that when yin and yang harmonized, all things flourished. Thus, the union of 2 families could not be arbitrary. The wedding night of princes, nobles, or aristocratic youth was not the romantic candlelit scene of romance novels, but a meticulously staged performance dictated by strict ritual decorum. The bride wore a heavy phoenix coronet and covered her face with a deep red bridal veil, a symbolic color meant to ward off evil spirits and summon good fortune, according to the 5 elements philosophy. They drank the nuptial cup of wine and cut a lock of hair to tie together into a small pouch called the knot of concentric hearts, symbolizing eternal bonding before ancestors and deities. Yet, Behind that veil lay the profound anxiety of women who had never laid eyes on their husbands before the wedding day. Absolute obedience to the husband's family was stamped upon them the moment they crossed the threshold, requiring wives to treat parents-in-law as their own and silently endure every harsh standard of the clan. From another perspective, in medieval Europe, marriage was tightly gripped and shaped by the supreme authority of the Catholic Church. Prior to the 12th century, European marriage was primarily a secular agreement between families, where public consent and the exchange of gifts were sometimes sufficient to legitimize husband and wife status. However, as the Church intervened more deeply, marriage was recognized as one of the 7 holy sacraments, indissoluble. This sparked a cultural revolution. Marriage was no longer merely a family affair, but a binding tie between humanity and God. Historians unearthing canon law court records from this era have uncovered curious secrets regarding the concept of consent. The Church stipulated that a marriage became legal only when both parties freely agreed, without coercion, while a minimum legal marriage age was established to curb forced child marriages within the feudal aristocracy. Even so, for European nobility, marriage remained an ultimate diplomatic weapon. Political alliances and territorial wars were ended or initiated through royal weddings, involving children barely 10 years old. Princesses were sent away to foreign lands, burdened by language barriers and isolated in cold castles, bearing the heavy mission of carrying on bloodlines and preserving peace for entire empires. Medieval legal science also established the systems of joint and separate property known as dower, ensuring widowed wives received a designated share of assets for survival after their husbands' deaths, even though their personal autonomy was almost entirely stripped away throughout marital life. Delving deeper into the world of vast steppe nomadic tribes, such as the Mongols under Genghis Khan, marriage took on a wild hue, intensely bound to the practical survival of warriors. To them, marriage sustained not only lineage, but also robust military alliance networks. Bride capture, a remnant of primitive times, persisted in symbolic or practical forms within certain communities. The groom and his comrades rode out to seize the bride from her family's yurt, a dramatic chase ensuing before both sides sat down to negotiate bride wealth, typically consisting of livestock, war horses, and weapons. This gift was not a commercial purchase, but an economic compensation to the bride's family for losing an essential laborer, alongside a pledge of the man's protective and financial capability toward the woman he chose as wife. In the harsh world of the steppes, where bitter cold bit to the bone and constant warfare raged, nomadic women held vital roles in managing camps, livestock, and families, while men were away on war horses. Consequently, despite the reputation of purchase or capture, the social standing of women in nomadic societies possessed a degree of openness and autonomy unthinkable to women locked behind the stone walls of patriarchal Eastern Confucian society. Drawing closer to the modern era, the structure of marriage began to transform under the pressure of Enlightenment thought and capitalist economic growth. The concept of romantic love, long regarded as secondary or even hazardous to family stability in previous centuries, gradually won recognition as the core foundation of marriage. Yet, this transition did not happen overnight. Well into the 19th century, across European and Asian nations, parent-arranged marriages matching social standing remained the golden standard for the upper and middle classes. Modern social science, analyzing historical demographic data, has pointed to an intriguing reality. Economically driven arranged marriages actually exhibited significantly lower divorce rates than modern marriages based purely on emotion. But the price paid was psychological repression and nameless marital tragedies buried beneath polished facades of family propriety. Women of the past, whether in the East or the West, had to learn to adapt to a harsh reality. Their life partners were not soulmates chosen by the heart, but colleagues in a long-term project entitled Family and Lineage. Looking back at humanity's long, arduous journey from wild savagery to feudal civilization, how the ancients married serves as the truest mirror of human civilizational evolution. Marriage was never a tranquil plot of pure romance, but a silent battlefield of economics, politics, law, and evolutionary biology. From the clay contracts inscribed on ancient Mesopotamian tablets, to the deep red veils heavy with Eastern ritualism, to the blood-drenched dynastic alliances of medieval Europe, every wedding ritual carried a profound survival code. The ancients married with calculation, compliance, and sometimes silent tears buried beneath the heavy weight of history. Today, as we gaze upon the simple wedding rings resting on our fingers, few realize that behind that tiny metallic circle lies tens of thousands of years of human struggle, adaptation, and transformation in our quest for eternal connection between two souls.